You've got to leave early to find free parking in the city. This city, my city, Chambery, to the middle east of France, in what they call the Pre-Alps. Come to the Alps. Guichet is a bit like a comptoir, but not as tasty. A comptoir is like a counter, similar for an accountant, but also for a delicatessen. A guichet is a little bit like you get when you go and see a bank teller, fully kitted out little bulletproof stall. This month I have to visit to be fingerprinted. Now, there was a time in Britain that I'd have objected to this, but you have to adapt to France. At least you don't get your finger all mucky with ink like in the movies, films. It's just an electronic scanner type thing that you do all 4 of them at the same time. This is so I can visit for more than 90 days a year, and I should be able to work in France after Brexit. Reinstated? We were already part of Europe. I don't want to harp on, but only French hypocracy of bureaucracy could cheat Brexit for the British in France that have made their home not accepted as a postal address, only proof of address through a mistake on a pay-as-you-go phone in-shop registration. An oversight, knock-on effect, gets the residency card. That statistical battle against Brexit has meant French bureaucracy wants to do you a favour. It's a bit like the punchline at the start of the video. Does anyone watch to the end? 10 years, but in order to complete the process, you need a good quality meal cooked in France. I'm taking with me on my crusade couscous and rice mixed for texture with sprinkles of chia seed, lamb, which is from Lidl, I confess, comes in a little bag and it's nice and easy to cook. There's an unami sauce, unsweetened, but there's grilled sweet peppers with it. Green veg, too often too difficult to find in France, green veg. Doesn't sound like the early morning gist of breakfasts, but it's almost a deluxe kebab from the night before. Le rappel de soi. Je ne me souviens de rien après ça. D'une part, c'est tôt pour arriver à Chambery, pour trouver un parking gratuit. Pour le premier et seul rendez-vous possible au guichet. C'est moi-ci. Je peux donc travailler à Brexit.
Arrivé ici, c'est Chambery.
I've since learned that even getting a job picking grapes for a couple of weeks is quite sought after and competed for, and has its own league table structure. And it should allow me to register for a Santé, a health card, so that I can then pay for my own health insurance, or the greater part of it, more or less 90%, so that I could then, 2 years later, get a COVID jab, and not before, and probably a Russian one. Coincidence? Or design? An agricultural barn becomes a residence to make a high-level political statistic, but not if there isn't enough life-saving vaccines to go round. And to think I bought a Pierre by a person's calendar at Christmas when they came round on a house call. Being a francophile is a francophone is so one-sided. So I've parked the monster-sized van, the hire van. Now let's play Find the Prefecture. But by night, with not a soul on the streets to ask. The Chateau, in the centre of the maze that is the old town, has so many entrances for so many different little purposes, and it's not that. Conseil pour les voyageurs. Ne marchez pas à travers les fontaines, inconscient par une foire nuit d'hiver. The main one that served as the grand entrance for the administrative capital for much of Italy as well. Turin was tiny. Garmin sat-nav, you say? Sat-navs are great for getting you to a town, but not so good for the ever-changing internal layouts of administrative bureau. The Chateau would cover more than a city block. Off beyond that, modern fountain that squirts straight up out the pavement. Rise and fall, delightful in summer. Less so to walk through unawares, only lit. Feature lighting. Showing up an icy jet up your trouser leg at the last moment. In midwinter darkness. Okay, it's early spring. In the empty old town streets and back alleys, your imagination can be transported back in time to the priorities and sensibilities of who knew the nooks and crannies intimately, or their often all too short, bleak lives. Rues arrières, ruelles, retour dans le temps, connaissant intimement les coins et les recoins cachettes pour leur vie, more souvent trop courte. These are our keywords. Make a sentence out of that. The aforementioned subject. This is the essence of if someone asks you to translate something. It's complicated. Savoyards, people from Savoy, are quite communal in their nature. The archstone colonnades, now enclosed and valuable real estate, hasn't always been so. The forage, grazing and semi-hibernation of the countryside, of the people, the population of the past, they now sheltered, offsetting the inevitable in as less exposed alcove as they could haggle or ghost themselves into. These people were tolerated and were a conscience to their finery until parapluie didn't stink of whale oil, and the colonnades used by the finery for a few hours of the day could be enclosed. Just the same as the communal prairie. Alpine pastures were periodically claimed by their lords and ladies and given up when marital alliances failed the dynasty. Please make a sentence. Vers voûté, maintenance fermée et précieuse et a toujours été ainsi. Courage, forage, au cadre, décalage, inévitable, abrite, tolère, et une ressource. Transience par heure. Pointer, baleine. See, my French is a bit like this. I throw in loads of words that I know without them joining up bits that you need in a sentence for it to make sense. And I hope people understand me. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. God and dukes and merchants blessed the nooks and crannies until a more ruthless zeitgeist of commerce concepted in the minds of men. Shelter.
Prudence, urgence, regardez l'air.
In tips terms, that first responder's calendar just felt of as such establishment. So good I could spend it twice. Water, food, procreation, refuge enclosure, all commoditised. For one, not all. Impitoyable. Flags signalled the advent of the revolution, faster than a horse. Flags from one chateau, fort, stronghold, faster than the horse. The eradication of the horse was to be the genocide of the next century. A result of the mule trains of misery that fueled the Paris capital, Turin usurped. Economic migrants and living commodities too small to walk were trafficked in mule baskets across broad swathes of countryside rather than roads. These are just the products of grignoter, croquer, munch through, and flights of fancy on a day out away from home. In the middle of Chambery, always architecturally interesting circle in the square of built form, a recessed and projected facade, but you can still see it. Which came first, the circular tower or its terraceisation? Chateau, Chambery's pantheon, now transformed into a laundrette. My guichet appointment, though. Yes, gusset appointment, almost sounds like that. 1 month from now, I'm
Chez, asseyez-vous.
brunch at last. Ethnic street and limited but early morning options. But I prefer stay hungry when scared of last minute hurdles of administrators. Told I'll get a text to make an appointment to collect the residency card, which is vastly preferable to me than signed for post for somewhere that I won't be, though I'm claiming that I am. Gotta beat Brexit. So I'm back here again a month on, carte de séjour in hand, a photocopy front and back, and I can post it to Emily, or carte vitale, the healthcare cover. Now COVID is over and I don't really need it. But I have the right. Oh, I do like a bit of Trump Doyle. Trick of the eye, painted on the side of a building.
Optical illusion.
Cards in hand, then I can declare mission complete. By the side of the tamed river canal, finally I get to tuck into a juicy bird that I prepared earlier. This Guy Ritchie film might say, if Guy Ritchie did Blue Peter, BBC children's television. Oh, but it's been such a long day and I'm tired. Made even longer by all this self-congratulating. Lane assist, bippity beep. It's a new thing on me. Stray renovation thoughts. Roof light for solar panel fitting access. Perhaps a clerestory hipped roof turret, like a local chateau. Chalet to chateau. No, that would be an underrated channel if ever there was. What can I do with an old renovated engine block? Will solar powers help power a hydrogen-fuelled home? More versatile travel panels are much more resellable. Or such nonsense your mind goes to when there's no car radio.